Marketer of the Day, episode 800, From Zero to Hero, Business Coaching with David Cavanagh.
Hey everyone, Robert Plank here, and today we have David Cavanagh on the call. And I'll tell you right now, this guy is crazy. This guy runs 12-day-long workshops. He runs weekly webinars for every single week of the year. He's a really awesome stage speaker. And as far as I know, his niche and his specialty is to get newbies to get started on the internet. So, hey David, what's up?
Robert, thanks very much for having me on the call. I just got back from London, and it's awesome to be with you.
Awesome to be with you too. So I don't think I've ever really found out, how did you get started making money and doing what you do?
Well, first of all, I was on the Gold Coast in Australia, which is in Queensland, in Surfers Paradise, and I moved to Broadbeach, and I decided one day, after talking to a few friends, I thought, oh, the internet looks all right. And one of the guys said to me, have you got a website? I'm thinking, a website? What's that? Now, since I'm 65 billion years of age, I mean, you would know about that. I'm really old compared to you. No, seriously, one of the guys said, do you want a website? And I said, what do I need a website for? And he said, oh, but you're DJing at the moment, this and that. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, what's a website got to do with a DJ? And I honestly didn't have a clue what websites were. Anyway, I started going into the local little internet cafe and checking out things. I thought, oh, this is pretty cool. And I rang up one of my friends and I said, oh, who did your website? And he said, I did. And I said, oh, I wouldn't mind learning how to actually create those kind of things and make some cash out of it, because I'm like you, I'm entrepreneurial. And I said, how do you actually do those things? And he said, oh, I use a thing called Microsoft Front Page. This was when Microsoft Front Page was 98 or whatever it was. And I said, all right, what do you do? And he said, well, you open it up and it's got a white background, and then you put a table in your middle, and in the middle you keep that white, but at the background you turn blue, and on the top you put a heading and all this kind of stuff. And I was playing with it, and I rang him up about 10 times that day, and I said, look, I'm stuck here, and I'm stuck here, and I'm stuck here. And I got to about the 10th or 11th time. He said, Dave, I don't mind helping you, but can you do me a favour? Ring me once with 10 questions rather than 10 times with one question each time, because you've stuffed my whole day up. And anyway, nice. I started learning how to do it, and I convinced a few people in Broadbeach where I was living, who were accommodation houses, that they needed David Cavanagh to design websites for them and to get them into Google.com and Yahoo and all that with search engine optimization. And I looked on the internet for BroadbeachGoldCoast.com, because Broadbeach was the suburb, Gold Coast was the area, and it was available. And then, cut a long story short, Robert, one of the guys rang me and he said, oh, do you know Joy, who runs the Broadbeach Gold Coast Tourism? And I said, wouldn't have a clue. I'm just a guy doing websites, man. And he said to me, well, she'd like to buy the domain name off you. And so my head was like jackpot eyes, you know what I mean? I was sitting there thinking, oh, yeah, really? Cool. And I think I paid about $17 for it at the time, the domain name, which is now about $8 or $9. But I mean, I got it for $17, or let's say $20, and I went into a meeting with them, and they paid me nearly $8,000 for the domain name. And so I really liked that stuff, kept going, did some contras and everything, and yeah, here I am today. But I just started with web design, and like you, I'm exactly like you. I had that tenacity to just go out there, and I didn't take no for an answer. I just look, I can do it because I'm me.
Right. And I mean, and that's huge. And you and I tell people that all the time, that you just got to have something out there. If you just have an idea or you have a dream, that doesn't really mean anything. No one's going to buy your dream for $8,000. But on the other hand, if you happen to have that long tail domain, right place, right time, then someone will pay for it.
Yeah, definitely. And don't get me wrong, I know there's people out there who do affiliate marketing. Some people do local business. Some people do their own products and services or private label stuff. You know what? I don't disagree with anyone, because everyone's got their own opinion. But what I say to people is just go out there and do something and make some money out of it, because most people sit there procrastinating, talking all this rubbish, and they never actually do anything. So just get out there and do something.
Right. And so many people, I mean, as long as you have something out there, and maybe if you're not making any money, usually they just need to adjust a few things. I mean, at least if you have, an opt-in page, sales letter, then you can, change the offer, change the headline. Then, I mean, it's these little baby steps, they don't have to set up this huge website.
Well, it's like what you say to your students, because I've been on a lot of your calls now, and it's just sometimes the little minor little tweaks are what's going to take your site from nowhere, like from zero to hero kind of thing. So the thing is, and whether you're doing a corporate site, whether you're doing a little mum and dad, mum and pop kind of home site, whether you're doing a local business site, whatever, as you said, they've still all got a headline. They've still got graphics. They've still got text, which you and I know as copy on the page. Whether it looks like corporate design, whether it looks like David Cavanagh, Robert playing kind of marketing design, whatever. Look at the client, look what they want, give the client what they want, and take what you want, the dollars.
And I love that, and I love how you got started out not by making some big huge site that's going to change the world. You started by doing web design for individual people.
Oh man, you should have seen the designs, Robert. Honestly, they were disgusting. I had dolphins jumping over. Man, I had dolphins jumping over the place, and I had these little marquee headlines going backwards and forwards. And the clients actually said, "Man, that looks really good." And I look back at it now and I think, "Oh my gosh, I'm not even going to put my name to that." Except if you go to archive.org, you see them and you'll kill yourself laughing. But at the time, it's me who sold me to the clients, and the website was secondary to that because they've all got a problem. I gave them a solution, and the solution was that they were in the top 10 in Google under hundreds of key phrases. People always say keywords. I rather call them key phrases because two or more words. So they were in the search engines under multiple key phrases, and they were getting hits to their sites, not just any hits, but targeted hits. And when they were getting there, we were capturing their name and details, of course, which what we know now is an opt-in form. And people behind the switchboard, the reception, were ringing them up and saying, "Oh, hi, my name's Joanne," or whatever. "I got your name to give you a call in regards to some accommodation. Hi, how you doing?" And they were closing 4 or 5 people out of 10 who they phoned up. And the guy said to me, "Man," he said, "it might be much of a website, but I'm closing deals and I'm putting money in the bank." He said, "So keep it going."
Right. Why mess with it?
And I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, but it didn't matter. It was still making money. So you had this ugly website, but you were getting paid for it, and you set it up the proper way so that your clients were making money every single day from it. So, I mean, and I'm sure there's tons of competition who had a beautiful, perfect-looking website that was not top 10 in Google or was not even finished or launched.
Yeah, right? You better believe it. Yeah, you better believe it. There were heaps of them out there. And when I looked at some of them, I thought, "Oh my gosh, look at the piece of rubbish I've got. And look at how glamorous and super duper sexy their one is." And yet realistically, mine got the hits. And it's like when I look at your paper theme that you've got, your paper template that you show your students, man, you probably get students saying, "Oh, but that's only basic." But I look from the point of view and think to myself, well, basic compared to what? And is it doing the job? Is it getting the point across? And is it converting? And if it's converting, shut up.
Right. And it's funny because, I mean, back when you were getting started, there were so many of they have the flash intros and the splash page and all kinds of, like you said, like the music and the animations. And today the equivalent of that are all these fancy WordPress sites, and you see like they have all these tabs and it says there's this big orange button that says download here or opt in here. And it looks good, but pretty much everyone I know who has one of those fancy looking sites, I mean, it converts, but not as well as these direct response sales letters that look ugly but make more money, right?
Yeah, I agree with you with a lot of it because I think to myself, basically people on the internet are buying one thing, solution to a problem. And if you can solve the problem in a cost-effective way with the best service, the best support, they don't really care half the time if the website hasn't got a sexy little thing sitting on the side and a big banner sitting across the top. As long as it gets a point across, it solves the problem, and they've got someone they can deal with, usually they just go ahead and do something.
And not only just convince me that you can solve the problem, but if I can actually figure out how to buy from the freaking thing, then
I tell you something.
better, right?
Yeah, I was in London the other day doing a seminar, as I said to you, and I actually went to one page. It was through one of the Warrior Forum specials, and I thought, oh, yeah, this looks all right. I got to the guy's page, and it was awesome. It was a WordPress plugin kind of thing, and I was looking at it. I thought, this looks really good. And you know what? There was not a buy button on the page.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, oh, my gosh. And yet I was sitting there, cash in my hand, well, in PayPal, ready to buy it. I'm thinking, man, some people put so much time and effort into their copy, time and effort into a headline, the layout, and the fancy, sexy buttons, and they forget to put the most important thing is buy now or opt in.
Oh yeah, and it's funny because even if all you had was a headline and a couple of bullet points and a buy button, that's better than the most beautiful, most descriptive sales letter ever with no buy button.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, and it's like I've seen some of your stuff you put out there with a headline, bullet points, opt-in, etc., and I know they convert because you've shown me. And yet I've seen these really, really long sales letter, and people say, well, are they long? Well, I think, well, to me, there's no such thing as long sales letters, but there are such thing as boring sales letters. I mean, copy to me, words on a page to me, should be like a lady's skirt. They should be long enough to cover everything, but short enough to be revealing. You have to figure out, okay, how long should it be? How short should it be? What's my point? Am I solving the problem? And am I is there a call to action to tell the person, listen, go to the bottom, fill in your name, fill in this, and go. Or go to the bottom, buy now. You have to do it or you're going to miss out.
Yep. And you got to have something up there to adjust it. You can't adjust thin air, right?
No, definitely not. You have to.
So how the heck did you get from being a web designer to being this guy who speaks on all these stages around the world?
I bribed the promoters.
In what way?
No, I'm just joking.
All right. You know what? Knowing you, I would have believed it.
Yeah. Well, I told Brett McFall, who runs the World Internet Summit, I was working with Peter Sun Marketing in Australia. And Peter's a big marketer in Australia. Well, he's all over the world. But anyway, I was working with him doing copywriting, and I talked to Brett McFall one day, and I didn't know, but Brett was about to start the World Internet Summit with Ted Siuba and Tom Hua. And anyway, I was on the phone to Brett, and he said, I've done this copy and that, what do you think of it? And Brett's like a leading copywriter, and I said, well, I don't know, I think it sucks. And and I got to meet Brett. And anyway, so I'm coming to Sydney soon, and he said, why don't you come and visit me? And here's me telling a guy that's earning thousands and thousands of dollars writing copy that his copy sucks. And really, when I look back at it, it was just my ego talking. And I put out a product. I put out this little script that I got a guy to write for me called Number One Position, which helped people get into the search engines by having different key phrases all over the place, and it doesn't really work now anywhere near as much. And anyway, I showed Brett that, and he said, mate, that works really, really well. And I kept on begging him. I said, man, I should show this at your upcoming World Internet Summit. He said, no, Dave, we've got Armin Morin. We've got all these really good people from overseas. I said, yeah, but give me a break, man. Let me do something. He said, no. We've got all these guys from America, and they rock the house, man. You know, we don't need you. And I said, no, you do need me. That's the thing. So anyway, I must have told him 100 times. And so he gave me a guest spot in the lunch break. And I had 30 minutes, and I ended up going for, I think it's 50 minutes or something like that. And I sold nearly all the crowd because I was really happy. And I think it was my nervous enthusiasm that got me over the line. And then he said to me when I was in the car park, he said, listen, when we have people in the audience talking to us about speakers, we need to kind of pull you aside and talk to you. And I thought, oh, no, here's my claim to fame gone. And he said, I said, okay, shoot, shoot from the hip, man. Just tell me what happened. He said, we had so many people talking to us. And he stopped, like that pregnant pause. And I thought, come on, man, just tell me. He said, we had so many people talking to us about you. We'd like to invite you to Nashville, Tennessee to talk. And I thought, oh my gosh. And at the time, the only thing I can think of, stupid me, the only thing I could think of, I turned around and said to Brett, can you help me with the airplane fare?
Perfect.
And here's this big professional on stage, and Brett said, I'm quite sure we can help you, Dave. But the thing is, it just went from there. And I got on stage with like legendary guys like Armin Morin and Ted Siuba and Paul Colligan and that, Brett McFall, Tom Hire. I got on stage with these guys. And at first, it must have been my first 3 or 4 seminars, I was telling them, I know this and you don't know this. And I look back at it now and I'm thinking, man, I don't even know how I lasted my first few gigs.
Right.
So I went from the web designer who was basically out of work to the guy touring the world teaching people. And don't get me wrong, when you're on those big stages, as you know, I mean, you really have to start researching big time, finding out people's problems, getting a solution, or otherwise the promoters get a solution and it's someone to replace you.
Right, and that's something that you keep mentioning a couple of times on this call is that, I mean, it's all about, helping people and finding their solution. And I can't tell you how many sales letters or products I see where someone says, hey, look at this WordPress plugin I've got, or look at this SEO tool I've got. And I say, well, that's nice, but it doesn't excite me. It doesn't get me to the top 10 in Google, or it doesn't, get me, all this extra traffic. So, how can you solve my problem, and I'll pay attention?
Yeah, so you're looking for the wow, you're looking for the why do I need it, what's in it for me, and the guy just hasn't convinced you, or the lady hasn't convinced you, because it's a nice sales letter, but that's about it. They haven't sold you on why it solves your problem.
Yeah, and a lot of them are just too close to the product. And I mean, and you made a good point with the nervous enthusiasm. It's kind of like, I mean, you need both. You know what I mean? You need to see it from their point of view just to know that you're on the right track, but also you need to have some kind of an ego, because otherwise you just chicken out and you go and cry in a corner and not even go on stage.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's like you when you came to Thailand and you spoke at our event. I was thinking, Robert's young, wonder how he'll go, because I know he's awesome on webinars and everything. And when you got in front of the audience, my audience, I mean, you're a natural. You and Lance are both natural. You're, I don't know, because you're in the industry, because you've actually talked to so many people, because you do a lot of newbie stuff, because you've talked to so many people each and every day, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of webinars, after a while, I mean, it doesn't matter if I live in Thailand and you live in the United States, etc. The world is so small, and we all seem to be encountering that everyone's got the same wants, desires, needs, etc. And I mean, I take my hat off to you, because, mate, you've gone awesome for your age. I mean, you're incredible.
Oh, I'm still not moving as fast as I want it to go, but I mean, but that's kind of a good point. Is that, I mean, sure it might be kind of scary to speak on stage, or you might not, know your whole subject. Well, then run some webinars if you do plan on speaking on stage. Run some webinars, teach a small group of people, and just get your subject really down, so that when it comes time to if you are presenting at, for example, like the World Internet Summit or at some other event, that way you're having fun. You know what I mean? And I mean, if you
know what made me very, very smart, I'm not trying to be full of myself when I say this, what made me really smart when it comes to answering questions? People say, who was it? What, one of your mentors? Was it Armin? Was it Ted? Was it Brett McFall? No, it wasn't. The funny thing, and this is no suck up, the funny thing is my students, because as you know, when you and Lance get on calls, and sometimes we think, God, that's a stupid question. And yet that stupid question might be asked 10 times by different people. And after a while you think, well, if it's said once, it's stupid. But if it's said 10 times, well, it's not stupid, and I have to include it in my course. So what I've come up with now, I know that I'm a lot smarter than a lot of guys who get on stage or do coaching, because my students have given me the ammunition to be able to go out there and help others.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that with you and Lance, because I see the same kind of thing. What's your niche? Who are you targeting? What's the problem? How are you going to solve it? What's your headline? What's your call to action? You're doing exactly the same thing, and yet I see people starting each and every day, and I'm frustrated, because I think to myself, man, it's a proven formula. You solve a problem, you give them what they want in a way that it's unbelievably affordable, best backup support, etc., and yet they're not doing it.
So why not?
I don't know, probably because they're stupid, but it's really good for you and me, because we can get more sales.
Right. But I mean, and that's such a good point, because I mean, I've seen people like Armin's, take out a flip chart and say, go one person at a time and say, ask me a question, and he'll write down 20, 30 questions, like, what's an opt-in page? How do I choose my keywords for Google? And at first when I saw that, I was thinking, man, like, how does Armin not pull his hair out by hearing all these newbie questions? But I mean, your biggest crowd's your newbies. So I mean, no matter what niche it is, whether it's internet marketing, or it's golfing, or it's self-help, or whatever, I mean, the newbie questions, I mean, that's going to be your products, your stage presentations.
Yeah, John Childers, who basically taught Armand and taught a lot of other guys how to speak from the stage, and he also helped me a lot. John Childers said there's one thing, no matter what industry, no matter what niche, that's the hardest thing. And I'm sitting there thinking, I don't know. And he said, you know what it is? It's getting started. And that's where you, Lance, myself, Ahmed, etc., really push to people who are getting started so we can help solve their problem. So I think if we can solve problems, if we can help people, and if we can help them in a way that they really, truly know they need us, well, I don't know. We've done our job, Robert.
Yep. And I think that, it really can be that simple, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's hard. But the main thing is, which I had to adjust, and I'll perfectly admit it to you here. When I first started, it was ego, and I thought I knew everything. And the thing is, anyone listening to this call today or tonight or wherever, I think to myself, drop your ego. Your ego ain't your amigo. What you have to do is ask a question, shut up, listen, and truly listen with 2 ears and 1 mouth. And actually, if you don't know the answer, go and find it out, solve it, and put it into your database or your frequently asked questions. And another thing which you and I shared ages ago, when people are writing their sales page, on the left-hand side of the page, say a foolscap piece of paper, I write all the questions, like you said, Armand does, pardon me, and then on the right-hand side, I'll solve them. I'll put it together, and instead of calling it a frequently asked questions page, I'll have it as my sales page, because all the smoke screens, the objections, every single thing is actually, put together on that page. And if I get any more through my support desk, I'll add them in as well.
Right. And that's really cool, because that just comes down to now which questions am I gonna ask first to make it all flow. But your customers or your future customers have already written most of your sales copy for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I noticed when you did a lot of your speed copying, that same kind of things. Robert might present it different to David, and David might be different to Lance, etc. But at the end of the day, if it's working, if people are making money, people are solving people's problems and helping, etc. It doesn't matter, affiliate marketing, local business, whatever. Bottom line is, if the job's getting done and people are all happy and smiling, putting money in the bank, well, we've all done our job.
Yep. I can't put it any better myself. So,
you can, but well, it looks good saying I'm all right,
Yeah, I'm keeping my ego down because it's not my ego.
Yeah, that's it.
So I guess so anyone listening to this, you can have an ugly site, and if you have a site that looks like crap but actually collects opt-ins or actually has a buy button or actually gets sales, then that's something to start with, and you can improve it. And as long as it makes money, who really cares, right? So what David did was he started out by just getting paid for doing something and by solving somebody's problem, and just repeating what worked for him. So he got started with doing web design and did all kinds of stuff, and eventually got to the point where he had a piece of software, but his problem was that not enough people were able to look at this software. So he went out and spoke to one guy and did his best to get himself on stage. Almost didn't make it, but actually was able to get in front of the stage of all these people, all these strangers, demoed his software, and one thing led to another. And I think that you guys out there, as long as you are figuring out what people need to get started, no matter what niche you're in, what are their problems, what are their questions, what kinds of things keep coming up over and over again, that's what your product should be about, whether it's a membership site or a book or a piece of software, and that's what you should use to write your sales letters. And I think it's really what it all comes down to, is that if you just think of a bunch of stuff to throw at people, well, that's not necessarily going to be what they need. But as long as you're answering their questions, if one person has this question, you can pretty much bet that 10, 20, 100 people have the same question. And the internet's big, but it's also kind of small, right? Because people can't easily find the solution to how do I get a domain name? How do I get a website? So you need to make something that you can pass around over and over. That way you're not like David's friend, where David had to call him on the phone 10 times a day. You could just make a product or have some kind of a coaching program where you can say, here you go, here's how to do it. So David, if people want to know more about what you're up to, what you're doing, where should they go?
Yeah, the best thing for them to go to is gettingstartedontheinternet.com, or they can go to davidcavanagh.com. And I'm starting up a brand new site in about 2 weeks' time, which is going to be the best coaching program. And yeah, by all means, I'd love to get your people onto a call with you. And I'll even give them a special discount just to help them out, because anyone who's a friend of yours and Lance's is a friend of ours. So, I mean, yeah, I'm more than happy to share anything.
All right, perfect. Let's do it. And same to you. So that's davidcavanagh.com, and then a little easier to spell, gettingstartedontheinternet.com. Thanks for being here, David.
And thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to helping you and any of your students with any questions or answers they want. So thanks very much for having me aboard.
This is Robert Plank from dfypodcast.com/free. Me and my team are super excited to jump into your podcast, whether it already exists, whether it's brand new, whether it's just in the idea stage. Set up a call and contact us today. Claim your free gift at dfypodcast.com/free, and we will see you there.